So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the military and society. As preparation for this, I reread some of your old articles, which are terrific. I mean, you're the only politician I know who, if elected, it will be a loss for journalism. But you did maybe a slightly notorious piece in 1979 arguing against women serving in the military. And not just that, you didn't think at that point that women had a place in the service academies. And I wonder if you changed your view since then, and how and why.
Well, let me, first of all, when I was thinking about running for the Senate, Jim Carville made a comment to me. He said, "You've made your life as a writer." You know, he says, "You got 2 million words out there. Do you know what they're going to do to you?" And you know, I've got 2 million words out there, and you know, there's a couple of thousand of them here and there that I kind of wish I had back. The piece I wrote.
It was a great piece, by the way. It was extremely persuasive. I mean,
you know, it was a very strongly,
but.
it was a very strongly felt piece.
Yeah.
It's in many ways, I think, been parts of it have been misinterpreted. It was a finalist in the Penny Missouri Journalism Awards that year. But I wrote it as someone who had just come back from a very hard combat tour in Vietnam. And it was not about women in the military. It was about women in holding combat billets. Yes, not women being shot at, but women in combat billets themselves. And you know, there are, you know, my positions at the time also were shaped by the Carter administration having said that they were going to issue a blanket removal of all restrictions in all of the combat MOSs in the military. So there was a fight going on. You know, word bombs were being thrown back and forth. When I became Secretary of the Navy, years later, I mean, I wrote that piece 36 years ago. When I became Secretary of the Navy, I opened up more positions for women in the Navy than any secretary in history. And we did it the right way. I grew up in the military, served in the military, and one of the real concerns back then was the political leadership just telling the military what to do, not consulting with them, not embracing them. And this is something that I worked on very hard when I was in the Senate on the Don't Ask, Don't Tell issue. I was the chair of the Personnel Subcommittee. You have to involve the military when you're making these fundamental decisions that affect their culture. But I put together a panel when I was Secretary of the Navy of active duty military men and women, officers and senior enlisted, had them go around to the bases around the world, consult, come back and report where is it that we could open up positions for women in the military in a functional and positive way at that time, and to report not just to me, but to report through the Chief of Naval Operations, have the military report to the Secretary. And we opened up more positions than any secretary at that time in history. This issue is still with us, by the way. If you have followed the study that the Marine Corps just went through, 9-month, in their view, exhaustive study of women in infantry and artillery MOSs. And they came back with a set of recommendations that the current Secretary of the Navy rejected in one day. He said, this is anecdotal and I'm not going to look at it. And I don't think that's the way that the political leadership should treat the military when they come to you with a 9-month, multi-million-dollar study trying to address not only the issue of women, but combat effectiveness. If I were a mother today with a son or a daughter in the Marines, I would want to listen to the Marine Corps leadership rather than to the political leadership.
Some of what you predicted in that article about the service academies has come to pass with the rape scandals and sexual harassment. You thought that was probably an inevitable outcome.
Well, my main focus, I mean, look, as I said, it was 36. What were you doing 36 years ago? But I am comfortable with the service academies now, and I think that the opening up so many of these positions to women in the military is healthy. It's healthy for the country and it's healthy for the military. I don't have any problem with that. But when you've got the military leadership talking to you also in areas like infantry and those sorts of things, you need to pay attention.
There is a lot we didn't get to, and I'm going to